Amara had always been the smartest woman in her village. Even as a child growing up in the dusty streets of Ibadan, she could calculate market prices faster than the traders, read the weather and the color of the sky, and understand human nature with the precision of an elder 3 times her age. Her grandmother used to say she had been born with the wisdom of the ancestors flowing through her veins. When she married Chukwudi 15 years ago, everyone said she had made a poor choice. He was handsome. Yes, tall and broad-shouldered, with skin like polished mahogany and a smile that could convince the sun to shine at midnight. But he came from a family of modest means, and Amara's father, a successful textile merchant, had hoped his brilliant daughter would marry someone of greater standing. But Amara had seen something in Chukwudi. Or rather, she thought she had. For the first 10 years, their marriage had been good. Chukwudi worked hard at his mechanic shop, and Amara used her business acumen to transform his small garage into a thriving auto repair empire. They built a beautiful home in the new estates outside the city, with marble floors and a garden where frangipani trees bloomed year-round. They had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, who were the pride of both their families. But lately, things had changed. It started small. Chukwudi coming home later than usual, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers, something cheap and cloying that made her nose wrinkle. Then there were the unexplained withdrawals from their joint account. 500,000 naira here, 200,000 there. When she asked about it, he waved her concerns away with easy lies about business expenses and investments. Amara was not a fool. One Thursday afternoon, while organizing Chukwudi's wardrobe, something she rarely did anymore since they had a housekeeper, she found it. A red silk scarf tucked into the pocket of his navy suit jacket. It was expensive, the kind sold in the boutiques downtown, and it still held the faint scent of that same cheap perfume. She held the scarf in her hands, feeling the smooth fabric slide between her fingers, and something cold settled in her chest. Not heartbreak, not yet. That would come later. What she felt in that moment was clarity. Her husband was having an affair. Amara carefully folded the scarf and placed it back exactly where she had found it. Then she sat on the edge of their bed and did what she had always done when faced with a problem. She thought. She could confront him, of course, scream and cry and throw the scarf in his face. Her mother would advise her to go straight to the family elders, to summon both families for a meeting where Chukwudi would be shamed and made to confess. Some of her friends would tell her to fight for her marriage, to find the other woman and confront her. But Amara had never been like other women. She spent the next 3 weeks watching, observing, gathering information, like a detective building a case. She noticed patterns in Chukwudi's behavior. He was always particularly attentive on Monday mornings, guilty and overcompensating. By Thursday, he would be distant again, his mind already drifting toward wherever he spent his Friday evenings, claiming he had business dinners or had to work late at the shop. She checked his phone while he showered, careful not to leave any trace of her investigation. He had deleted most messages, but he wasn't as clever as he thought. She found receipts for hotels in his email, restaurant bills for 2, and a text thread with someone saved under the name Mike, except Mike's messages were full of heart emojis and phrases like, "I miss you already, baby." The other woman's name was Ngozi. Amara hired a private investigator, a discreet professional her lawyer friend recommended. Within a week, she had photographs, addresses, and a complete profile. Ngozi was 28 years old, almost 15 years younger than Amara. She worked as a sales representative for a pharmaceutical company. She was pretty in a simple, unassuming way, with a bright smile and a figure that hadn't yet been tested by childbirth. She also, according to the investigator's report, had a boyfriend, a young man named Tunde who worked at a bank and who had no idea his girlfriend was also involved with a married man. Amara studied the photographs late at night while Chukwudi slept beside her, snoring softly. She felt nothing looking at this girl's face. No rage, no jealousy, just that same cold clarity. The thing about Amara was that she had built her husband's empire. While Chukwudi was good with his hands and could fix any engine, it was Amara who had the business mind. She had secured the loans for expansion, negotiated contracts with corporate clients, set up the accounting systems, and established relationships with parts suppliers across West Africa. Her name was on everything: the business registration, the property deeds, the bank accounts. She had insisted on it from the beginning, and Chukwudi, trusting and in love, had agreed readily. "What's mine is yours," he used to say, pulling her close. What he didn't realize was that "what's mine is yours" only worked when the mine remained faithful. Amara began her preparations on a Tuesday. First, she visited her lawyer, Mr. Okonkwo, a shrewd man in his 60s who had handled her father's business affairs for decades. She brought him copies of everything: the photographs, the bank statements, the hotel receipts, the business documents. "I want to divorce him," she said simply, sitting across from his massive desk. "But I want to do it smart." Mr. Okonkwo adjusted his glasses and studied the documents. "Under Nigerian law, you're entitled to a significant portion of the marital assets, especially given your documented contribution to building the business. But litigation can be lengthy and expensive. What exactly do you have in mind?" Amara smiled. "I want everything. The business, the house, the cars, the investments, everything we built together, which is really everything I built while he turned wrenches." "That's ambitious." "That's fair," she corrected. "I have a plan, but I need your help to make sure it's legal." She spent 2 hours outlining her strategy. When she finished, Mr. Okonkwo leaned back in his chair and laughed, a deep, genuine belly laugh. "Mrs. Amara," he said, wiping his eyes, "you are possibly the most brilliant client I have ever had. This is absolutely ruthless. I love it. Will it work? If you execute it properly? Yes, and it will be completely legal. He won't be able to challenge a single thing." The next step was gathering her resources. Amara had always been careful with money, setting aside a portion of their profits into a private account Chukwudi didn't know about. Not for any nefarious reason. She had simply learned from her father that a smart woman always had her own money. That account now held over 20 million naira. She used part of it to rent a beautiful apartment in Victoria Island, Lagos's most prestigious neighborhood. She furnished it simply but elegantly, creating a space that felt like liberation. All white walls and natural light, so different from the ornate, heavy furniture of the house she shared with Chukwudi. Then she made appointments with the bank managers, with the business partners, with the suppliers, with the landlord who owned the property where Chukwudi's main garage operated. "I'm thinking of restructuring some of our business arrangements," she told each of them, her voice sweet and professional. "Just want to make sure all our paperwork is in order." Nobody suspected anything. Why would they? She was Chukwudi's wife, the business manager, the one who handled all administrative matters anyway. Within 2 weeks, she had quietly transferred key contracts into her sole name, updated signatory authorities to remove Chukwudi from critical accounts, and ensured that the business licenses listed her as the primary owner. It was all perfectly legal. After all, she had always been the one managing these affairs. She also did something else, something that would prove crucial later. She befriended Ngozi. It wasn't hard. Amara had always been charming when she wanted to be. She accidentally ran into the younger woman at the shopping mall where Ngozi often spent her lunch breaks. She complimented her dress. They chatted about fashion, about work, about life in the city. "You should give me your number," Amara said brightly. "I'm always looking for new friends. Most of my friends are so boring. All they talk about is their children and their husbands." Ngozi, flattered by the attention of this sophisticated, elegant older woman, readily agreed. Over the next few weeks, they met for coffee twice. Amara played her role perfectly, the lonely wife seeking companionship, never mentioning her husband's name, never revealing that she knew exactly who Ngozi was. "You're so lucky to be young and free," Amara sighed during their second coffee date. "Enjoy it while it lasts. Marriage can be complicated." "Do you regret getting married?" Ngozi asked, stirring sugar into her cappuccino. "Let's just say I've learned that you can't trust anyone completely, even the people you think you know best." Amara smiled sadly. "But enough about me. Tell me about your boyfriend. Tunde, right?" Ngozi's face fell. "We've been having problems. He thinks I'm seeing someone else." "Are you?" Amara asked innocently. Ngozi looked away. "It's complicated." It always is, Amara murmured. The confrontation came on a Friday evening, exactly 6 weeks after Amara had found the red silk scarf. She had chosen the timing carefully. It was the end of the fiscal year, and she had just completed all the necessary paperwork for their business renewals and tax filings. Everything was in order. Everything was in her name. Chukwudi came home at 10 p.m., claiming he had been working late. He smelled of that perfume again. "We need to talk," Amara said quietly. She was sitting in the living room, the lights dim, her hands folded in her lap. Something in her tone made him freeze. "What's wrong?" "Sit down, Chukwudi." He sat, and for the first time in months, she saw real fear in his eyes. "Good. I know about Ngozi," she said simply. The color drained from his face. "Amara, She held up her hand. Don't insult me with lies. I know everything. I have photographs, receipts, messages I've known for weeks." He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. "It didn't mean anything. She's just 28 years old and very pretty and makes you feel young again," Amara finished. "Yes, I know. I've met her, actually. Lovely girl. A bit naive, but sweet." "You met her?" "We've become quite friendly. She has no idea I'm your wife, of course. She thinks I'm just a lonely older woman who likes chatting at coffee shops." Amara smiled. "She told me all about her married boyfriend. Such a terrible man, deceiving his wife like that." Chukwudi looked like he might be sick. "What do you want?" "I want a divorce." He stood up, suddenly angry. "You think you can just throw away 15 years of marriage because of one mistake? Sit down." The steel in her voice made him sink back into the chair. "Let me explain how this is going to work," Amara continued, her voice conversational. "I've already filed for divorce. Mr. Okonkwo has all the papers. You'll receive them next week. You're not going to contest it." "The hell I won't. This is my house, my business." "Actually, it's not." She pulled out a folder from beside her chair and tossed it onto the coffee table. "This is my house, my business, my cars, my everything. If you look through these documents, you'll find that I own everything. I've always owned everything, legally speaking. You just never bothered to check." He grabbed the folder, his hands shaking, as he flipped through pages of property deeds, business licenses, loan documents, contracts, all bearing Amara's signature as the primary or sole owner. "This isn't possible," he whispered. "It's very possible. In fact, it's what I've been building for 15 years, while you were just the face of the business. I was the brain, Chukwudi. I was always the brain. You were just too proud to notice." "You can't do this. I'll fight you. You'll do what? Take me to court?" "Please do. I have a file full of evidence of your adultery. Under Nigerian law, infidelity is grounds for divorce, and the court tends to favor the wronged party, especially when that party can prove they were the primary financial contributor to the marriage." She leaned forward. "But here's what will really hurt. I know you've been stealing from the business account. Those business expenses you couldn't explain? I have records of every withdrawal, every transfer to Ngozi, every hotel payment. That's embezzlement, Chukwudi. That's a criminal offense." His face had gone from pale to gray. "You wouldn't. I would rather not, which is why I'm offering you a deal. You sign the divorce papers without contest. You walk away quietly, and in return, I'll give you 2 million naira to start over somewhere else. I won't press charges for embezzlement. I won't destroy your reputation. You can leave with your dignity intact." 2 million naira? That's insulting. We're worth over 200 million. "We're worth nothing," Amara corrected coldly. "I'm worth 200 million. You're worth whatever I decide to give you. 2 million naira is generous considering you cheated on me, stole from me, and humiliated me. Take it or leave it." He was crying now, ugly gulping sobs. "Amara, please. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. We can work through this. Think of the children." "I am thinking of the children, which is why I'm removing their cheating, lying father from their daily lives, before he teaches them that dishonesty and betrayal are acceptable. They'll stay with me. You can have supervised visitation." "You can't keep my children from me." "Actually, I can. I have evidence that you've been depleting family funds for your affair, putting our children's welfare at risk. Any judge will side with me. But again, I'm being generous. You can see them every other weekend as long as you behave." Chukwudi sat in silence for a long moment, broken. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. "Why are you doing this? Why are you being so cruel?" Amara stood up, looking down at the man she had once loved. I'm not being cruel, Chukwudi. I'm being smart. There's a difference. You made a choice when you decided I wasn't enough for you. You chose to betray everything we built together. Now you get to live with the consequences of that choice. What about Ngozi? What about her? Are you going to tell her boyfriend? Amara smiled. Actually, I already did. Last week, I sent Tunde all the same photographs and receipts I showed my lawyer. He broke up with her 3 days ago. She's been crying on my shoulder about it. I've been very supportive. The expression on Chukwudi's face was one of pure horror. You're a monster. No, Amara said softly. I'm a woman who refuses to be made a fool. There's a difference. The divorce was finalized within 3 months. Chukwudi, faced with the reality of Amara's ironclad case and the threat of criminal charges, signed everything she put in front of him. He took his 2 million naira and moved to Port Harcourt, where he found work as a mechanic in someone else's shop, a humiliating calm-down from being the owner of a successful enterprise. Amara kept the house, the business, the investments, and primary custody of the children. She rebranded the auto repair business under her own name, Amara's Elite Auto Services. It was thriving. She also continued her friendship with Ngozi. This is where the story takes its turn. 3 months after the divorce, Amara invited Ngozi to her house for dinner. It was the first time Ngozi had visited, and she gasped when she saw the beautiful estate. You live here alone? Ngozi asked, looking around at the marble floors and expensive artwork. With my children, Amara corrected. I recently divorced my husband. Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't be. He was cheating on me. Ngozi shifted uncomfortably. That's terrible. I hope you took him for everything. I did, actually. Amara poured 2 glasses of wine and handed one to Ngozi. Sit. I have something to tell you. As Ngozi sat on the plush sofa, Amara took a seat across from her. The man I divorced was named Chukwudi. You might know him. The wine glass nearly slipped from Ngozi's hand. What? Chukwudi, my ex-husband. Your ex-boyfriend, technically, though I don't think he ever really left his wife for you, did he? Ngozi's face was pale. You knew? This whole time, you knew? From the very beginning, that first day at the mall wasn't an accident. Oh my God. Ngozi set down the wine glass with shaking hands. You've been playing me. All these weeks, pretending to be my friend. I wasn't pretending, Amara interrupted. That's what I wanted to tell you. Everything I did to Chukwudi, destroying his life, taking everything from him, that was about punishing him for his betrayal. But you, I never wanted to punish you. Then why befriend me? Why tell Tunde about the affair? Because I wanted to save you from making the same mistakes I did. Amara leaned forward. Ngozi, you're 28 years old. You're beautiful, intelligent, and you have your whole life ahead of you. Why were you wasting it on a married man? Why were you letting yourself be used? Tears were streaming down Ngozi's face. I don't know. He made me feel special. He said his wife didn't understand him, that they were practically separated. They always say that, and you believed him because you're young, and you wanted to believe it. But let me tell you something about men like Chukwudi. They don't leave their wives. They want both worlds, the stability and respectability of marriage and the excitement of an affair. They're cowards. I'm so sorry, Ngozi sobbed. I never meant to hurt anyone. I didn't think... I know you didn't. That's why I'm not angry at you. Angry at him? Absolutely. But you were just a girl who got manipulated by a man old enough to know better. Amara handed her a tissue. When I told Tunde about the affair, I did it to free you. You deserve a man who will be yours completely, not someone who sneaks around and lies to everyone in his life. But he broke up with me. Now I have no one. Good. You don't need a man right now. You need to figure out who you are and what you want from life. Amara paused. Which is actually why I invited you here tonight. I have a proposal. Ngozi looked up, confused and wary. What kind of proposal? I'm expanding my business. I'm opening 3 new branches across Lagos, and I need a general manager, someone smart, organized, and hungry to succeed. The job pays well, comes with benefits, and includes a company car. I think you'd be perfect for it. You want to give me a job? After everything? After everything. I've gotten to know you over these past few months. Underneath the poor decisions with men, you're sharp. You're a good salesperson. You're reliable, and you have potential. You just need someone to give you a real opportunity. Why would you do this for me? Amara smiled. Because women need to support each other, not tear each other down over men who aren't worth it. Chukwudi played both of us. He lied to me and he lied to you. We both lost time to him, but that doesn't mean we have to lose our futures. Ngozi was crying again, but these were different tears. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Come work for me. Learn the business. Build something real. And maybe one day, when you've saved enough money and learned enough skills, you can start your own business. I'll even help you. But why? Why help me after what I did? Because, Amara said gently, the best revenge isn't destroying the other woman. It's succeeding so completely that everyone forgets there ever was another woman. It's building an empire so impressive that your ex-husband sees it from his little mechanic job in Port Harcourt and realizes what a fool he was. And it's proving that women are stronger together than we ever are fighting over scraps of male attention. Ngozi stared at her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. Okay, yes, I'll do it. I'll work hard, I promise. I'll make you proud. I'm counting on it. 2 years later, Amara sat in her expanded office, reviewing quarterly reports. Amara's elite auto services now had 7 locations across Nigeria and was in talks to expand into Ghana. The business was valued at over $500 million naira. Ngozi walked in, wearing a smart business suit and carrying a tablet. She had grown into her role beautifully, transforming from the insecure young woman who chased married men into a confident professional who commanded respect in boardrooms. The Port Harcourt branch is exceeding projections, Ngozi reported. We're up 30% from last quarter. Excellent. Any issues? Just one. There's a mechanic who's been applying for a position. Very experienced, apparently, but something about his resume seemed familiar. She handed Amara the tablet. Amara looked at the name and felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, just nothing. Chukwudi, she said aloud. He's applying to work at his own former business. Your business, Ngozi corrected. It was always yours. Should I reject the application? Amara thought for a moment. 2 years ago, she would have rejected it out of pure spite, but she had built something bigger than revenge now. She had built something that didn't need the validation of his suffering. No, she said finally. If he's qualified, hire him. But he goes through the same process as everyone else. Interview, background check, probationary period. No special treatment. Are you sure? After everything he did? I'm sure. Let him come work for me if he wants. Let him see what I built without him. Let him watch you, the woman he used as his side piece, managing an empire while he changes oil. That's poetry, Ngozi. Ngozi laughed. When you put it that way, you know what? You're right. That is poetry. 3 weeks later, Chukwudi started work at the Port Harcourt branch. He was assigned to the junior mechanics team, reporting to a woman half his age. His paychecks, paid out of the business he once thought he owned, were signed with Amara's name. He lasted 6 months before the humiliation became too much and he quit. Amara heard about it from the branch manager and simply nodded. She was too busy planning the Ghana expansion to care. One evening, years after the divorce, Amara's daughter, now a teenager, asked her a question over dinner. Mama, do you ever regret divorcing Daddy? Amara set down her fork and looked at her beautiful daughter. So fierce and smart and full of potential. No, baby, I don't. Even though you loved him? I did love him, very much, but I loved myself more. And that's the most important lesson I can teach you. Never love someone more than you love yourself. Never make yourself small to make someone else comfortable. And never, ever let anyone take what you've built. Is that why you kept the business? I kept the business because it was always mine. I built it. Your father helped, yes, but I was the architect. And when he betrayed me, he betrayed any right he had to share in what I created. She smiled at her daughter. Someday you'll build something of your own. Make sure you build it in your own name. I will, Mama. As her children cleared the table, Amara stepped out onto her balcony, looking out over the city lights of Lagos. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ngozi. Just closed the Ghana deal. We're official. Thank you for believing in me. Amara smiled and typed back, I always did. Now go celebrate. She thought about the woman she had been 3 years ago, the one who found a red silk scarf and felt her world crumble. That woman had been hurt, yes, but she had also been strong. Strong enough to turn betrayal into opportunity, strong enough to rebuild, strong enough to extend grace even to those who had wronged her. The real shock, Amara thought, wasn't that she had taken everything from her cheating husband. Anyone could do that with a good lawyer and proper documentation. The real shock was that she had taken the woman who had slept with her husband and turned her into an ally, a protege, and a friend. That she had taken her pain and transmuted it into power. That she had refused to become bitter and instead became better. That was the kind of outsmarting that changed lives. And somewhere in Port Harcourt, Chukwudi was probably telling his story in a bar. The story of how his ex-wife destroyed him, took everything from him, left him with nothing. But that wasn't the story at all. The real story was about a brilliant woman who finally stopped building empires for ungrateful men and started building them for herself and other women instead. And that empire, unlike her marriage, would last forever.